At what stage in your undergraduate career did you decide maybe I want to go to law school?
Not till my senior year, when my father said, why don't you take the LSATs? And I did.
Where'd you go to law school?
University of Virginia.
Where's that?
Charlottesville.
And so
Virginia.
what year would you have started at Virginia?
61.
When you attended law school, approximately how many students were in your class total?
There were 250. There were 2 women and 2 blacks.
Was that a surprise to you, or to go in, did you know that was going to be the ratio of women in the class?
You know, it's funny. I don't even think I thought about it. I was so shocked to go to Charlottesville when it was still segregated. The law school wasn't that far away from the medical school, where there were black bathrooms and white bathrooms and the fountains and everything.
How about professors? Were there any female professors in the 3 years that you were?
No. Fanny Farmer was the librarian,
Okay.
and she was a lawyer.
You were on the law review, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so once you made the law review, what was involved?
A lot of research. They would go around and they would get famous people to write an article, and then you would blue book it. Remember that blue book?
I do.
And then you would have to write one note. In the back of the law review, is after the articles, there are notes, a note section. It would be like a 2-page. Mine was on 3-judge courts.
How were you treated in the classroom as a student? Were you singled out in any way because of your gender?
I can remember in criminal law, they saved the question, define rape for the one woman in the class. And you had to stand up and recite. And then when in torts, what did they ask me? Indecent exposure or something like that.
So you had to stand up in front of all your
Yeah.
male contemporaries and enter into a
I
discussion.
know they did it on purpose.
You put in 3 years in Charlottesville, right?
Huh?
And when did you take your bar examination after graduation?
I took the Virginia bar when I got out in 1963.
And where did you do that?
Lynchburg, Virginia.
And what was involved in getting
Well, I went
ready
to Richmond and took a 2-week cram course. And then we drove to Lynchburg and I took the exam. It was a 3-day exam.
And you passed?
Yep.
After you passed the bar exam in Virginia, did you go to work for anyone with your newly credentialed?
No, I married you.
We lived in San Diego for approximately 4 years, right? Mm-hmm. And while we were in San Diego, did you work for a law firm or use your law degree in any way then?
No.
Any reason why?
You couldn't get a job.
Why not?
Well, they didn't hire women.
As a general rule.
They'd flat out tell you. Well, I couldn't get a job before that in Philadelphia
Why not?
because they didn't hire women. The only job offer I ever got was to be law librarian at Morgan, Lewis, and Bockius.
You had 2 children in San Diego, right?
Right.
And back then, were there like daycare centers and nannies around that took care?
No.
So after spending the time we did in San Diego, where did you move to?
Simsbury, Connecticut.
There you've lived ever since, right? At that point in time, you have not yet been admitted to the Connecticut bar, right?
That's right.
And in order to be admitted to the Connecticut bar, what, if anything, did you have to do to prepare for it to take the examination?
Well, you didn't have to do anything, but I did take the cram course in Philadelphia and Hartford, and that was the year of the riots.
Tell me about that.
Well, I'd come in at 6 o'clock, and there would be policemen on the corner, and you'd have to have a reason to be coming downtown.
It was the year that Martin Luther King was killed, and the cities all over the place
Were erupting.
Upon passage of the bar here in Connecticut.
Oh, you had to get interviewed.
Explain that to us.
You had to be interviewed by a panel of lawyers to make sure you were of good character.
And did that happen with you?
Yes, and I was of good character.
Now you've passed the bar, you get interviewed, and you're admitted to the bar, right? Did you go to work?
Mm-hmm.
And where did you go to work?
Well, aren't you going to ask me how I got the job?
No, I was coming to that, but we'll get to that.
I went to work for Travelers Insurance Company.
And how did you get the job?
Marcia Hinks was a friend of Henry Armstrong's, the general counsel,
Let me interrupt. Marcia Hinks, who was she?
the wife of one of your partners who was a lawyer at Aetna.
Got it.
And she put the bug in Henry's ear about hiring a woman, because that was when the EEOC was coming out and Travelers had no women. They were desperate to get a woman.
Okay.
So Henry called me up and asked me if I wanted to interview.
And did you?
Yes.
And when you went to work at the Travelers Insurance Company, were you being hired as a lawyer?
Yes.
And you were the only woman.
They only needed one.
How long in total did you work for the Travelers?
Oh, 25 years.
And during your 25-year tenure as a lawyer for the Travelers, were there any other women attorneys that were hired?
Yes.
How many?
7 or 8?
And when you started with the Travelers, how large was the law department?
25?
Say again?
25 maybe?
Okay. And by the time you completed your career with the Travelers, how large had it become?
Oh, maybe 100.
How were you paid then? Salary?
Yes.
And if you know, did you get paid the same salary that your male counterparts did?
I don't know. I don't think so, but I don't know.
Had the movement for equal pay for equal work begun to become an economic reality out in the workplace?
No, I don't think it ever was at Travelers. You were not supposed to talk about what you made. It was more than frowned upon.
As a lawyer, were you an officer of the corporation?
No, I was an officer, but an officer of the corporation, there were only like 15. That was a legal entity.
So when you say you were an officer, were there any other female officers at that time?
I was the first female officer, I think.
In the Travelers Insurance Company?
Right.
How many other female lawyers were there in the greater Hartford area that you knew?
1.
You stayed your entire legal career at the Travelers?
Mm-hmm.
When you retired from the Travelers, did you continue your education?
Oh, yes, I went to Yale in the forestry school, environmental science. When I went there, I got to take all the classes that I didn't take at Cornell. Like I took paleobotany, I took biology, I took soils, I just had a ball. I took chemistry. It wasn't anything to do with the law. It was a complete change, and it was one of the best experiences of my life. I loved it.
Did you have fun practicing law?
I loved the law. You know, I think it had I just am attracted to it. So yes, I did.